Hey, you guys. Welcome to Talk About It Thursdays, and I'm your host, Karen Bailey. Let me know when you're on. I would love to say hello to you guys. Happy Pre-Friday, everybody. Last week, we talked about, hey, Miss Laura, how you doing? We talked about I'm Still Here last week, and about how, sometimes we make our own way hard simply because of decisions that we make. Sometimes we're prideful. Sometimes we won't accept the necessary help that we need, and just sometimes we just didn't love ourselves enough. We go through those stages in life where if you're not taught self-love, hey Denise, if you're not taught self-love as a young lady or as a young man, it's hard trying to find that. It's hard trying to dig deep, past all the hurt, past all of what society says that you are, past, your past experiences, and find that part inside of you that has to learn how to love you. So it's not your fault. And don't look back at your past as though it's saying who you are now. Your past is what you had to go through in order to become the person that you are now. And just understand that everything that each and every one of us went through, even the stuff that we don't want to tell anybody about, God has a way of turning even those things into something for our good. Somewhere, somehow, what we all went through made us a better person. And I don't know too many people that couldn't say that. We never want to go through the hard stuff, but sometimes that's what it takes for God to bring us forth as pure gold. We have to go through the fire sometimes in order for God to get the best out of all of us. So you guys, my topic today is called Lost Files. Sometimes you feel like God is not listening. I know I've had moments, I've had, just seasons in my life, and I'm just like, you know what, I'm doing all this praying and I'm trying to live a certain type of way that's pleasing to God, and it just seems like I feel like God is not listening to me. I feel like God has lost my files of all the things that I've been crying about, all the things that I've been praying about, all the things that I've had to go through and sacrifice and suffer through. We've all felt like that at some point. Like God has just lost our files somewhere. It's gotten mixed up with everybody else's stuff because he's too busy to deal with us. But just because God is not doing something right now doesn't mean that he's not working. God works when we're sleeping. God doesn't need our permission to move in our lives. And he doesn't always have to let us know everything that's going on. And so just understand that even sometimes when you feel like, hey, Kinsley, you're struggling and you see other people, being blessed. You see other people that aren't even trying to live right. And you see that they're just getting blessed over here, blessed over there. They're connected with good people. And every time you turn around, seem like they're winning all the time. You have to understand, we all get a turn in the winner's circle. It may just not be your time. And you have to trust God's timing. That's why it's so important not to get jealous, of other people. Keep your heart pure. Learn how to congratulate people. Learn how to celebrate people when they're winning. Because your turn is coming. You just got to be patient and you just got to wait on God. So there will be times when it feels like God is silent. And sometimes there will be times where it just feels like you can't even feel his presence. And that's the time, you guys, when you don't give up. You don't give in to the idea that, God has lost my file. God has forgotten about me. Don't give in to those things, those thoughts, negative thoughts that are coming through your mind. That's when you got to dig a little bit deeper. Dig a little bit deeper, because that's where that trust comes in. It's just like in a relationship. Let's say a friendship. If you know that somebody is one of those friends, hey Christia, that will always be there for you. They're gonna come if you need them. We all have those friends that if I get on the phone and I call them, they're coming. If they gotta get on a plane, if they gotta get on a train, they gotta get in a car, they're coming if I call them. That's the kind of trust God wants you to have with him. And just because he's silent doesn't mean he's not thinking about you. Just because he's silent doesn't mean that he's not working some things out that you don't even know about. I think about all the things in my life that I didn't even see coming, that God didn't let come my way, that God didn't let me have to encounter. But in those times when I was feeling like God was silent, God was working on stuff that I didn't even know existed. He was keeping things out of my life that I couldn't even imagine. So just know that he's so much higher than us. His ways are so much greater than ours that he can go ahead of you and put a stop to some things. God knows the people that are plotting against you. God knows, who's smiling in your face and talking behind your back. And you may be comfortable with these people. You may be letting these people around you, in your house, this, that, and the other. But when you have that relationship with God, even when you let your guard down, he doesn't. God never lets his guard down when it comes to you. He's always thinking about you. He's always trying to protect you. That's why I tell people, don't ever get comfortable. Don't ever get too comfortable with people, because you got to understand people are just flesh and blood. And it doesn't take that much for people to let the enemy use them. We've let the enemy use us. We can think back on some things that we did that we knew God wouldn't be pleased with. Who do you think was controlling us at that time? Who do you think was listening to us at that time? So as good of a person as you are, and you know how you get tempted, you know how you've let the enemy use you, then this is why you don't put other people on the pedestal. Because if it can happen to somebody like you that's really trying, imagine how easy it is for the enemy to use other people. And that's why you don't put them up on a pedestal. That's why you don't let them break your heart, because you don't put them up that high anyway. Never make somebody your everything so that when they disappoint you, it breaks you and tears you apart and it breaks your heart. God is a jealous God. He's the only one that wants to be in that position of, I can't live without him. That's the position that he wants to be, and he ain't trying to share that with nobody. So don't ever put a man, a woman, your children, your friends, never your job. Don't ever put that in a position of, I can't live without that, because that's God's place. That's God's place. And that's why sometimes he allows us to be heartbroken, because he's trying to tell you, I'm a jealous God. That's my spot. You don't put nobody there. The only person you can't live without is me. And so we have to remind ourselves that people are people. They're going to do stuff. They're going to do selfish things. They're going to do hurtful things. And we have to learn to not allow that to consume our lives. We got to learn how to take things and shake them off and keep it moving. So you guys, when you don't hear God's voice, when you feel like God is not listening, like your file is lost, there's 3 things I want you to remember me saying for you to do. Number 1, I want you to keep going. Keep going. Number 2, I want you to keep giving. And number 3, I want you to keep gaining. Keep progressing. Keep gaining. So let's talk about number 1. Keep going. What I mean by that is don't stop moving forward. Even if you don't feel like, you can feel his presence, keep going. sometimes we just not in the right headspace. Sometimes we got too many distractions around you. Sometimes we've let too many of the wrong people in our life. And the Bible says God won't dwell in an unclean temple. So when you're letting all kinds of people run in and out of your house, get all up in your ear, they're just dirtying up your temple, which is you. Sometimes they're dirtying up your spirit. Sometimes you're letting these people in and out of your house. And I tell people all the time, everybody's not meant to be invited into that intimate space with you. That's why you can't let everybody come into your house, because your house is supposed to be that place of refuge. Your house should be the one place that you can go and you can find peace. And I know what it's like to not have a peaceful home. I know what it's like to not want to come home. And now that I have that back, now that my home is my sanctuary, this is where me and God do our thing. This is where I get my rest. This is where I, get my mindset back. This is where, I feel the most loved. I don't let people in and out of my house. It's not because I'm bougie. It's not because I think I'm better than anybody else. It's because I know what it's like to not want to come into my own house. I know what it's like to sit in the driveway and cry because I didn't want to come in my house because of the people I had living in my home. So once you clean those things out, once you get a taste of peace, real peace, you guys, you will fight for your peace. I will fight for my peace. I don't let my family disturb my peace. I ain't letting none of my friends disturb my peace. I ain't letting no man disturb my peace, simply because it took so much out of me to get to where I am. And I'm going to protect that, because I'm going to need a place to run to. I'm going to need a place when the world is crazy out here, when all the stresses of life is trying to weigh me down. I got to have a place where I can rest, and that's my home. And then number 2, don't stop being positive and having a good attitude. While you're waiting to hear from God, while you're waiting on God to move on your behalf, while you're waiting on God to give you those answers, keep being positive. Keep looking forward. Keep expecting good things to happen in your life. Number 3, don't stop performing at your best level. Just because things aren't going the way you want them to go, don't stop being who God created you to be. I'm learning that when it comes to praise and worship, when it comes to me doing my job, when it comes for me caring about other people and caring for other people, I need to check some stuff at the door. Simply because that's not their problem. Whatever I got going on that I'm dealing with, don't bring it and put that on somebody else. Don't bring it and drop your baggage off on somebody else, because that don't have nothing to do with them. And that's why you have to constantly train yourself to keep going and to keep performing at your best level, no matter what. No matter what, you keep going and keep doing it the right way, no matter what. Even when you feel like your prayers aren't being answered, keep doing it the right way, because it's going to pay off after a while. Number 4, don't stop getting up in the mornings and speaking words of affirmation over yourself. Nobody's going to do this for you, guys. Come on, nobody's going to do this. You have got to learn to love yourself enough to speak back to yourself. It sounds crazy. People may say, oh Lord, she's talking to herself in the mirror. I sure am. Because I got to convince this flesh that it's not running nothing. Because the flesh is going to try to make you feel how it wants you to feel. Oh, I don't feel good today. It's going to be a bad day. Oh, I got a headache. Oh, this, that, and the other. No, you have to beat that flesh down every day and say, my spirit man is well. Even when that flesh doesn't feel well, my spirit man is well. All is well. All is well. And I am above and I'm not beneath. I am valuable I am lovable and I deserve love. These are the things you need to say back to yourself, because life has beat up your physical self so bad. Life has beat your flesh up so bad. You know, you're not comfortable saying these things. And the more you say it, the better you'll be. The more you say it, and you say it with your chest sticking out, even if you ain't feeling it, you say it anyway. Put those things out in the atmosphere anyway, because these are the things that you deserve. And I know life will make you feel like you're not good enough. Life will make you feel like you don't fit in. Life will make you feel like, you don't compare to this person, that person. God didn't make you to compete with anybody but yourself. And so that self you got to compete with is that flesh. And you have to beat it down every day. And you have to remind your flesh that I am fearfully and I am wonderfully made. Because those are not your words. Those are God's words. And God can't lie. So you speak to that flesh of yours. You speak God's word and say, you know what? God says that I am an apple in his eye. That I'm a jewel in his crown. Because you have to remind yourself that you didn't put you here. God put you here, and God has a purpose for you being here. And as soon as you can get your confidence level up, everything else in your life will get better. I had a meeting today, and it was strange to hear the person that was talking to me, how they said, I just admire your confidence. And I'm just like, it just took me back for a minute. Because last year I was not as confident as I am this year. And I had to ask myself what changed. And y'all know what changed? I started speaking words of affirmation over myself. I started reminding myself how valuable I am. I started reminding myself how unique I am, and how God made me in his image, and how God only made one me. And then I began to understand more about not worrying about what man thinks about me. It's about what you say about yourself. That's what's going to matter, because God puts in his word what he feels about you anyway. It's up to you to decide if you believe him or not, or if you can decide if that's good enough for you or not, or if you're more worried about what man says about you. And just hearing her say that, and I was just thinking, okay, come on, God. The changes are being apparent that other people are seeing it. It's not that, that I've done anything drastic with my outer appearance. It's just the inside is changing. The inside is getting stronger. The inside is really starting to believe what God has said about me. And I'm receiving that, and I'm walking in it, and I'm holding my head up, and I'm doing things with excellence, and I'm doing things at a level that's greater than it was last year, simply because I know the God that I serve. And I know that anything I go to do, God is going to make it prosper. I know anything that I touch is going to be blessed, because he said that it would. When you give God his proper place in your life, when you understand that it's not about you, but it's all about him, you stop worrying about who's got what. You stop worrying about who's prettier than you. You stop worrying about who's got more money than you. You stop worrying about other people being in a relationship and you being single. I don't worry about those things anymore. If God has that for me, God is going to make that thing come to pass when it's supposed to come to pass. And there's some things you just have to resolve within yourself. Who is really in control? And when you really understand how much you're not in control, you can take some of that weight off of you. You can get your smile back. You can get your joy back. You can get your peace back, because all of this belongs to God. Everything that's going on, God is very fully aware. And I'm like, God, you see this mess? God, this you. You're going to have to handle this. I can't do nothing with this. And give it to him, and get your smile back, and get your peace back. But those words of affirmation, when you start saying it enough to yourself, you're going to start seeing it within yourself. And that does not come naturally. I'm not going to lie to anybody and tell them that as soon as you say that, you're going to start seeing that. No, honey, that's going to work in your spirit. And then your spirit is going to change the way you look at yourself. Your spirit is going to change the way you feel about yourself. And your spirit is going to change how you let people deal with you and how you let people treat you. And that's where that confidence is going to come back, because you understand that it's okay if that person doesn't want to treat me with respect. It's okay to let them go on. Hey, Latoya, it's okay to let them go on, and you're not going to miss an ounce of sleep. That's when you've got that confidence in knowing that God has made you, and God made you the right way, the way that you should be, not the way society says you're supposed to be, but you're valuable just the way God made you. Number 5, don't stop being a light and an example for other people. Just because your prayers haven't come through and just because you don't see things changing in your life, don't stop being a light. Because that's part of the enemy's trick. If he can make you think, okay, God is not working on your behalf, God ain't thinking about you, God not going to do that for you, and then you start letting your light dim, then you're not blessing the people that God is wanting you to bless. Because you don't never know, and I never know who's going to come up to me or who I'm going to encounter in a day that may need my smile, or they may need a hug from me, or they just may need a little pep talk from me. I don't practice that stuff, but I try to stay ready by remembering that every day is a blessing. I try to stay ready by being grateful for what I have, even if I don't have everything I want to have. You know, everything I feel like I need, I have everything I need. Now, I don't have all my wants, but I can honestly say I have everything that I need. And God is that kind of God. He supplies all of my needs. And so when I think about that, when I get up in the morning, I can't help but be a light. I can't help but smile. You know, patients always ask me, are you cheerful like this all day? I said, I have my days, when I'm not as perky. I said, but I feel like y'all deserve to be treated well. I feel like y'all ought to have a smile, when you come in here. I said, whatever issues I'm having have nothing to do with you, so I'm not going to take it out on you. So I'm coming to be a light, because I need the enemy to know that even though some stuff may not be going right in my life, you are not going to dim my light. You didn't give me that light. We used to sing a song when we were little, this little light of mine, I'm going to let it shine. God gave you that light, but you have a choice whether you're going to let it be bright or if you're going to let it be dim. And I'm not going to let people in this world that don't like my light, I'm not going to let people in this world that are intimidated by my light. And sometimes there are people that are just miserable. And when they see your light, they try to do everything they can to put a damper on it. But you got to be stronger than that. You got to understand that whatever their issue is, it has nothing to do with you. Don't let it stop letting you be a light, because your light, even in times when you're going through, may be that very thing that helps somebody else get out of a bad situation. It may be that very thing that makes a person decide they don't want to kill themselves today. It may be that very thing that makes a person say, you know what, I'm through living like this. I've encountered somebody that I know she's going through some things, but she's still smiling. She's still being kind. She's still showing love. So it's got to be something inside of her that's bigger than whatever she's going through. That's the example we have to show for other people, because there's so much depression out here, so much anxiety, so much of people living in situations that they've gotten themselves in and don't know how to get out of. Sometimes it takes that light to get people to start talking to God again. You may be the person that causes people to start praying again. That person may have given up on God, but when they encountered you and they just feel your spirit, now they started praying again. Now they started going back to church. And I'm not saying you have to go to church to get close to God, because you do not. But you do have to have a relationship with Him to get close to Him. And you never know. You may be that person's last chance to reconnect with God. So I don't want to blow that chance with anybody. I don't want to be that person that made them say, see, ain't no point in trying to, serve God. There's no point in trying to worship and pray to God, even her, and she's supposed to be a Christian. Hey, Wendy, and you see how she acting. You see her attitude. You see how ugly she is, and I get so frustrated with people, especially the ones I call that's got all these scriptures and stuff on their voicemail, and they some of the nastiest, meanest, bad understandingest, quick to get an attitude people. I'd be like, erase your voicemail, because you embarrassing me. Erase that, because if you're not going to live it, hey Johnny, and you're not going to have love in your heart, quit putting all that stuff out there trying to make people think you're something that you're not. And then don't stop speaking up for what's right and for what you need. Just because you feel like, right now things aren't going your way right now, everything that you've been praying for, you don't see it yet and seem like it's taken a long time. Don't stop speaking up for what's right. And one thing I had to learn for myself, because I used to be really shy and I used to just fade into the background. And people could treat me any kind of way. People could give me the crumbs and I would take it and be polite about it. That's not who you're supposed to be. Start speaking up. Open your mouth. You have every right to speak up when things are not right. You have every right to speak up when people aren't treating you right, when you see things that are unfair, when people aren't valuing you. That's your right to speak up. And that's where that confidence is going to come in. When you start speaking words of affirmation over yourself, you're going to realize, I didn't deserve that. I don't deserve for them to keep treating me the way that they treat me. I don't deserve for them to keep using me and then throwing me away whenever they feel like it and then bringing me back when they need something. When you learn to love yourself, you will be all right with getting some people straight. And you will understand that that's what it takes to get back to the person that you need to be. Because a lot of times we're people pleasers. And when you're always trying to please people, you're going to lose yourself every time. Because the more you do for people, the more they want you to do. And then the more you do for people, it's never enough. And that's just human nature. They know who they can get to do what. And it's never enough. It's always going to be a constant you giving when you're a people pleaser. And don't stop speaking up for what you need. I tell people all the time, and this is something I had to learn for myself, when you need something from somebody, speak it. That way they can't never say, well, I didn't know she needed that. No, I told you I needed that. Now, you decided not to come through. Cool, but don't say that you didn't know. Start making your needs known. Start speaking to people. If you think that they can help you with something, don't let them go around with that excuse. Well, I didn't know she needed that. I didn't know. I wish she would have called me. No, start opening your mouth. You never know who God is going to use to bless you. And then the next thing I want you to keep doing, even when you feel like you're not hearing from God, I want you to keep giving. Keep giving. Even on your worst day, you got to remember, your worst day is somebody's best day. People have it so much worse than most of us. And we have to remember that. And we have to understand that, you don't have to have everything that you need to have a blessed life. You don't have to have everything you want to have a blessed life. Sometimes it's just your ability to have a kind heart. Your ability to give of yourself, to give of your time, to give of your energy. That's a blessing. That's a blessed life there, because God is always going to bless you more than you bless somebody else. So even on your worst days, just remember, you guys, your worst day is somebody's best day. They're wishing for your worst day because their life is so much worse. And number 2, give what you need. And that was a lesson I had to learn too. I had to learn how to break the cycle, because if you are in need of something and you never give it to anybody else, you let that cycle continue. That cycle of lack will continue throughout your family, throughout your generations. Somebody's got to make the difference. Somebody got to step out and break the cycle. No, you didn't get the love that you needed when you were little. No, your father wasn't there for you. No, your mother wasn't there for you. But that doesn't mean that you continue that cycle. Somebody's got to stand up and say, you know, for my children, I'm going to make sure my children know the love that I didn't have. I'm going to make sure that my children aren't afraid to talk to me. I'm going to make sure that my children know that I love them. Give what you didn't have. Give what you need. And it leaves a void when you get older, when you don't have the love and the nourishing that you were supposed to have as a child. Yes, it leaves a void, but God is the only one that can fill that void. And when you give what you already need, God is going to fill you up, because he's going to fill you up so you can keep on giving, because that's a servant's heart. That's what God wants us to do. He wants us to keep on giving, because the more you give, that it's going to spread. You know, you don't never just give to one person. You give something to one person, they tell somebody else about it, and then they tell somebody else about it. So it's never just one thing that you do. You never just impact one person. And that's why giving is so important. And you guys, if you have children, whether they're at home or whether they're adults, hey Anita, make sure that you let them know every day, especially if you were a person that never felt loved as a young person or as a child. Give that love in abundance to somebody else and watch God heal those wounds from your past. Because I've learned to text my children. With technology, there's no excuse. Everybody has a cell phone. A good morning text, have a great day, I love you, it goes a long way. Because guess what? We don't know what these children are going to encounter in a day. We don't know, what's going to come up against them. We have no idea what kind of stressors are going to come into their life. And they're going to remember that good morning, I love you. And I do a good morning and I do a good night, because I want my children to know that I'm thinking about them in the morning and I'm thinking about them before I go to bed. And I want them to know I'm praying for you every day. Your mother is praying for you. When you didn't have a praying mother, this is one of those things that is so important, y'all. Because we don't know who our children are going to encounter. We don't know what kind of situations are going to come up in their lives where you're not going to be able to help them. You've got to pray for your children and keep them covered. There's never a time when it's okay to not pray for your children. I don't care how old they get. Everybody needs a praying mother. Everybody needs a praying father, because God hears your prayers because they come from so deep in your heart that they're pure. Those prayers for those children, they're so pure, they're so beautiful, they're so heartfelt that God hears your prayers. And sometimes we don't even know what to pray for our children. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that. Ask God to keep them covered in the blood of Jesus. That's it right there. That'll cover everything. That'll cover everything. But give what you need. And maybe you don't have anybody praying for you. Maybe you don't have anybody looking out for you. But you pray for your children. God is hearing you, and God is going to keep you covered as well. And then if you need love, give it. Don't be all caught up because you're not in a relationship. There's other ways to give love besides being in a male-female relationship. Hey, Pam, give love to your friends. Give love to the neighbors in your neighborhood. Give love to the people that you encounter on your job. There's never a time when there's not somebody that you can love, somebody that you can share love with. Even if you were not taught that, it's never too late to learn. You got to just step out there and just start doing it. If you need companionship, learn how to be a good friend. I'll tell anybody, if you're going to have a companion, please make sure they're your friend, because your looks are going to fade. Certain things are going to be good in the beginning, and then they're going to kind of fizzle out later on. I'll let y'all use your imagination. But a good friend, somebody that you can talk to and laugh with and have a cup of coffee with, or sit on a boat and go fishing with, or just sit in silence with and read a book. Those things are valuable. Those things are precious. You don't lose a good friend, but people lose relationships every day. People get divorced every day because they weren't married to their friends, because they weren't married to somebody that had their best interest in heart. They weren't married to somebody that said, through good and bad, I'm staying. You're not getting rid of me. That's a true friend. And that's when you know you've got a good friend, that they know that you're not going to get rid of me, because I decided, I made a covenant with you that I'm your friend. That means in good times and bad times, in your mood swing, I'm going to be here, and I'm going to be the one trying to help get you straight, but I'm not going anywhere. So if you need companionship, you need to give it, and start by being a good friend. If you need dependability, give it. Be a person that's dependable. Be a person that's of your word. You can't be asking people to give what you're not willing to give. And if you need someone to trust, give it. Be that person that somebody can come to you and tell their secrets to, and share what's going on with them, that they don't have to worry about hearing it on the street, and that they can trust you to give them good advice, something that's going to help their life be better and not be messy. So give what you want, or give what you need. If you need kind words, speak kind words to other people. Give it, and God will make sure that that thing comes right back around to you. That thing will come back around to your children. I'm a living witness on that. When you give and you do good and you put that out there, God will have people be good to your children. That's why I say you got to pray for them. It's all connected. It's all connected. And then if you need respect, give respect. You can't have a nasty attitude and then talking about how nobody respects you. Are you respecting them? Are you giving them the respect they deserve? And then if you need peace, you give peace. Don't be the one that's always in every messy situation, always stirring things up. You be the peacemaker. And God will put peace in your life. Because when you become the peacemaker, you have to stop and you have to think and you have to analyze the whole situation. You can't just listen to one person's side. To be the peacemaker, you got to get the whole story. And that takes a lot to get the whole story and to be able to weed through the lies and the he said, she said. When you become a peacemaker, you learn to listen more than you speak. And if you need strength, give it. That's why I say, you guys, when things are going good, strengthen yourself. Strengthen yourself, because while things may be going good for you, somebody else is going through something. Somebody else is struggling with something. So you need to be strength for other people, because you don't ever know when somebody's going to need your shoulder to cry on. Somebody's going to need to call you and say, hey, sis, can I talk to you for a minute? Hey, sis, can you meet me for coffee? Hey, sis, can we go for a walk? You need to be strong. That way they can draw from you. That way they'll know that they're going to be all right. Even if the situation doesn't look good right now, something about your strength and the fact that you're telling them, I'm here for you. I'm going to go through this with you. Everything's going to be okay. You can't say those things if you don't already have some strength inside of you. And number 3, keep on gaining. Keep on gaining. And what I mean by that is, Don't stop meeting your deadlines. Don't start slacking up just because you feel like things aren't going the way you want them to go, just because you feel like, okay, God hadn't done this for me yet. Keep gaining, keep meeting those deadlines, keep making those plans, you guys, and keep moving forward, and don't stop chasing your goals. And then number 3, learn as much as you can about where you're trying to go. Get your education on what you're trying to do. Because sometimes God is silent because you need to get focused. Because you got so much going on. You're trying to do too much. And you need to get still and get focused. And you need to figure out as much as you can about what you're trying to do. And decide if that's what you really want to do in the first place. Number 4, keep your life drama-free. Stop always jumping in everybody's situation. There are times when you have to not answer the phone. There are times when you're going to have to not respond to text messages. There are times when you're going to hear a whiff of something going on and you're going to need to turn around and go the other direction because your peace is too valuable. Because you need to stay focused at this time in your life. You don't need all that extra drama. People get themselves into trouble and then they want to pull you into it. There comes a time in your life where you have to say, you know what? It's too much at stake in my life. I'm trying to get somewhere. I can't worry about what y'all are doing over here because y'all doing the same old stuff, trying to get different results, and everybody's immature, and I'm not finna get in this. I got things I'm trying to do. I got places I'm trying to go with my own life. So keep your life as drama-free as possible. That way you can see more clearly, and so you can make the best decisions for your own life. Number 5, don't stop praying for what you want. Even if you don't have it, even if you don't feel like, you've gotten any answers from God, you feel like, okay, God, I don't even think you're considering me anymore. Don't stop praying. The Bible says about being persistent. That's the prayer that availeth much. It's when you petition God and you keep petitioning Him. Don't give up on petitioning God because God heard you. He heard you the first time, but you have to sometimes show God how bad you want it. So sometimes you have to keep coming to God and say, God, I don't know what it is about me. I don't know what it is as why this hadn't come to pass, but fix whatever it is in me. Show me whatever I need to be shown. Teach me the lesson I need to be taught because I still want this for my life. And so whatever has to be cleaned up in me, whatever has to be changed in me, God, I want you to do it because I really want this in my life. If that's what you want from me, that's what I want in my life. And you have to be persistent and you have to let God know that you're willing to do the work and make the sacrifices for what you're asking for. Number 6, keep gaining momentum on your dreams. I tell you guys all the time, if we don't write things down, it's real easy to fall off. That's why God's word says, write the vision and make it plain, simply because when you don't write stuff down, then it's easy to forget about it. It's easy to get distracted. It's easy to get off track and never go back to it. You have to decide that my year is so important. I've got some goals I'm going to reach this year. And I'm not going to let myself make excuses. I'm not going to let myself get caught up in some of the traps I got caught up in last year. I'm not going to deal with some of these naysayers I was dealing with last year. You have to decide that this year is a year that you're going to put some value on. And that's going to start with writing things down and what you want to get done this year and challenging yourself. And you got to gain momentum on those things. You got to show that you're getting closer and closer and closer to it. Because if you don't chase your dreams, nobody's going to just drop them in your lap. Whatever you're trying to do, whatever you want to see happen in your life this year, you will have to put in some work. So therefore, you got to gain momentum. You got to check yourself every 30 days and say, okay, where am I at? Where did I fall off? How did I get distracted? What am I going to do next month to keep this from happening? Because I'm behind. You know, I'm working on a fence, you guys, putting up a privacy fence, and I'm putting it up myself. I have it written down. I know how far I need to be by the end of February. I know where I want to be by March, and I want to be done with this by April. That's my cutoff, the end of April. That whole fence got to be done, because I don't want to keep talking about the same stuff year after year after year. I want to be able to move on to something else. So sometimes you got to get all in on one thing and set a goal, set a timeline, get that done, move that out of the way. Now let's move to the next thing. That's how you gain momentum on your dream. You don't try to tackle a bunch of stuff at the same time. You tackle it one thing at a time and get it done. And then that way you can move on to the next thing. But you got to want to do that. Number 7, keep speaking positive over your life, even when you don't feel it. Don't allow your emotions and don't allow your flesh, don't allow the opinions of others to make you feel like your life is not good. God is blessing you every day that you open your eyes. Don't let other people try to make you compare your life to theirs. And like I said earlier, closed mouths don't get fed. Speak up for what you need. Speak up for what you want. And let people understand that there are boundaries in your life. You have to set boundaries if you want to have a peaceful life. Because as long as you let people do any and everything and run to and fro in your life, you're never going to have the peace and you're never going to have the focus you need to keep going. So keep in mind, you guys, that there are times when God's timing is not our timing. And your prayers are not tucked away in some file somewhere. God has not forgotten about you. And every answer is not always going to be instant. Some things we're not ready for. Some answers require you to go through a process that could take months, years, sometimes, before it can come to pass. And if the answer was always easy, guys, we wouldn't even need God. If we could always do stuff for ourselves without waiting on God, then we wouldn't even need God. And it's just like relationships, you guys. You know, some things, especially family relationships, when there's been a lot of hurt, when there's been a lot of pain, sometimes those things take years to repair. And it's just because of our human nature. You know, we all have our own feelings. It takes some of us longer to forgive people than others, you know, and it also depends on what kind of trauma, you know, has happened in the relationship as to how long it's going to take to heal sometimes. And we have to trust and believe that God is aware of everything that's going on with us. You know, you're not lost. He knows where you are. He knows your situation. But God desires to know your heart. And if it hasn't come to pass, a lot of times it's about your relationship with God. A lot of times it's about you wanting that thing more than you want God. And like I said before, God is a jealous God. He don't want you to want anything, anybody, more than you want him. Because he's the only thing that's everlasting. Everything else is going to fade away at some point. It's going to die off. It's going to break down. So he's trying to get you connected to something that you can count on. You can count on that's going to be everlasting. Something that won't let you down. And a lot of times God hasn't let things that we've asked for come to pass is because, one, he makes us wait so we can get stronger. And sometimes you're not fully ready to receive what you're asking for. I know that a lot of times that was me. You know, I needed personal growth. I needed some patience. I needed to grow up a little bit and get away from those childish ways. And so God withheld some things from me so that he could work on that part of me. And I see that now. Number 2, you don't have your priorities in order. So sometimes God is not going to give you what you're praying for because you don't even have the priorities in order with what you do have. Number 3, you haven't worked on yourself. So if you're not willing to work on yourself to be a better person, so that when God gives you what you're asking for, that you're able to respect it and treat it the way that, that God would want you to treat it and appreciate it, you got to do the work on you first. Because we've all got areas where we're broken. We all have areas where we're stubborn, hard-headed, hard to deal with, all of that. So a lot of times God doesn't give us what we ask for because you haven't done the construction on you. And you haven't faced the fact that sometimes you're the problem. You're the reason why people left. You're the reason why the relationship didn't work out. You're the reason why you haven't gotten any further than you are. So you got to take a look at you, and you got to do some work on you. Number 4, it's not aligned with God's will for your life. So some of these things we're asking him for, it's not in his will, and he's not going to go against his own will. Number 5, sometimes you have improper motives when you pray. Sometimes you're praying, Lord, blah, blah, blah about my husband, and make him do this, make him do that. God is saying to you that maybe your motives aren't right. Maybe your heart is not right when you come praying for somebody else. Number 6, we have unconfessed sin. When we go to God, we got to go to God pure. We got to go to God honest. We can't go to God playing games. He already know what you did, how you did it, and why you did it. So you might as well go on and fess up before you even start talking to him. Number 7, we have a lack of faith. And a lot of times when things aren't going the way we think they should go, or we've been praying about it for a while, we start talking negative. And we start talking down, about God and what he can and cannot do. So a lot of times we're speaking doubt and speaking faith at the same time. And we're praying and we're worrying at the same time. Number 8, God may be answering your prayer in a way that you don't even expect. Sometimes we think we know so much. And sometimes God not allowing something to work out for you is actually him answering a prayer that you didn't even know to ask for. We see things from this physical eye. And God knows so much more about the situation than you'll ever know. And sometimes it didn't work out. You didn't get that job. That relationship didn't work out. That person betrayed you. This and that happened. Simply because you don't know the real deal. You don't know the whole score. And because you was ignorant to it, God said, let me just not let it work out, because she can't handle that. She's not going to be ready for that. Because when that happens down there 10 years from now, it's going to break her. She's going to go into a deep depression. That's going to break her heart. God, he tries his best to protect us because he's got a larger plan for our lives than what we can even imagine. And you guys, my final thought is, while we pray and we don't always understand how God moves, you still just have to trust him, because he's always moving. And that's why it's so important to rely on your memories of what he's already done for you, because that'll help you remember the character of God. Other times when you thought you weren't going to make it, other times when you wanted to die, when you just felt like your life was over, God somehow came in and he fixed that situation, and you're here where you are today. So just know that your prayers are not lost in a file somewhere. They have been analyzed by God, and they've been put in their proper place. And in God's timing, if it lines up with his plans for your life, and only when it lines up with his plans will he answer them for you. But until then, don't forget to keep going. Don't forget to keep giving. And don't forget to keep gaining momentum on your hopes and your dreams. Keep moving, because your files are not lost. You guys, thank y'all so much for watching. And I want to say happy Valentine's Day to everybody, whether you're booed up or not. Do something good for yourself. If you do have a significant other, I want you guys to try something this year. Make them feel so special. And it's not about spending a lot of money. And this idea came to my mind the other day. You know, remember how you first met. You know, we all have cell phones, and we have pictures, you know, that go way back, or we all have photo albums. We're all of age where we still have photo albums from back in the day. You know, remember how you met that person in those early photos? Take a minute and go and pick out some frames and frame those early moments when you first started dating, when you first started traveling, and put those things around the house for tomorrow. Let them walk in the house and see all those memories of where you started and where you are now. Let that person know how much value they brought to your life. You know, whether it's 1 year, 10 years, 20 years, whatever. Let them see that it's not just about material things. It's about the value that they brought and how you're so grateful to have them in your life. And I promise you, they'll appreciate that more than anything that you can imagine. People need to be reminded of how they started, so that if they're off track, that would be a good time for y'all to talk about how to get back to where we used to be, when we used to smile when we saw each other, when we used to giggle, when I used to get butterflies, you know, when I talked to you. Let's figure out how to get back to there so we can get that romance back in our lives, so we can make sure that we're loving each other properly and being the support that we need for one another. But that's just a suggestion for those of you that have a significant other. Make it special. You still have time. If you got photos in your phone and you've only been dating a year, go to Walgreens, get those printed off and put those in a frame and put them around your house, and let that person know that because they're in your life is so much better. But those of you that are not booed up, get with your friends, do something nice, take yourself out, buy yourself something nice. I got a whole weekend of stuff that me and my friends are doing, and we're going to celebrate one another. And I love you guys, and I want to say happy Valentine's Day, and love yourself every day because you deserve it. Love y'all. Stay safe. Have a great weekend. Bye.